Shares of General Motors fell today after reports the automaker will likely face criminal charges and pay a record fine for defective ignition switches. Those switches have been linked to more than 100 fatalities. Phil LeBeau has more.
Into our ignition switch.
Almost a year after General Motors CEO Mary Barra announced her company had shown a pattern of incompetence and neglect in the making and later failing to recall defective ignition switches, the federal government is reportedly planning to file criminal charges against the automaker. The New York Times reports the office of U.S. Attorney Preet Bharara is moving to wrap up its case, perhaps as soon as later this summer. While GM could face criminal charges, it's likely to include deferred prosecution, meaning those charges would ultimately be dismissed if GM agrees to certain terms and conditions. There are reports GM could also face a fine of close to $3 billion. A spokesperson for GM would not comment on the status of the federal investigation. Just last year, federal prosecutors fined Toyota $1.2 billion for failing to alert safety regulators of complaints involving the sudden acceleration of Toyota vehicles. It remains the largest penalty ever imposed on an automaker by the federal government. When GM CEO Mary Barra announced her company had uncovered a history of failures surrounding the ignition switches, she also said 15 GM employees had been fired for their role in the scandal. It's unclear if any of those former employees will now face individual criminal charges. Phil LeBeau, Nightly Business Report, Chicago.